Hey guys, my name is Loveless, and this time we're back with Drowning. So, this is all the way to chapter 2. There are 7 chapters in this, and they're super short. So, I should be doing back to back episodes because it'll be easy for me to do so and edit. So, let's get straight into it. The next morning, Izuku almost didn't get out of bed. His body felt heavy and cemented in place. I have a perfect attendance. It wouldn't be a big deal if I didn't go to class today, Izuku thought to himself as he rolled over in his bed. The boy was drained. The previous night's episode had taken a lot out of him. It was the worst one he's had in a while, coming out of nowhere. He still wasn't even sure what triggered it, but whatever it was, Izuku was willing to do about just anything just to avoid it. And right now, that was lying in bed and not getting up, which was his plan for the day, until Yutaraka lightly knocked on his door. Deku, are you up? If you don't hurry up, you'll be late for class. Izuku nearly let out a sob at her words. He knew he needed to get up, but he wasn't sure if he had the strength. What kind of hero are you if you can't even get out of bed? He berated himself. Yeah, I'm up. I'll be out in a few minutes. Don't worry, he called back to her, forcing the exhaustion out of his voice. He was happy and cheerful, Izuku, always smiling, always willing to be there for his friends, even if none of them were there for him. Izuku took a few deep breaths, managing to push himself up in the seating position, a groan escaping his lips as he went. Just today. Just get through today. He groggily went through his morning routine, which was just getting dressed in his yesterday's uniform. He wanted to brush his teeth, try to tame the mess of hair, maybe wash his face, but he just couldn't. Not today. Maybe tomorrow. It seemed like he was telling himself that a lot lately, grabbing his bag and trying to rub the remaining sleep and sadness from his eyes. Izuku walked out of his dorm. He took the elevator down to the common room, completely ignoring the kitchen and a few other students still littered in the room. He walked outside to the main campus. Just get through today. All things considered, Izuku thought he was doing pretty well. He had gone through the first half of his day with a bright smile on his face, animatedly talking with his classmates. He didn't participate in the lessons as much as he normally would, but he was just so exhausted. He doubted anyone would notice anyway. At lunch, he didn't even bother getting food. He wasn't hungry, and just the thought of it was making him nauseous. Yutaraka had asked him why he didn't get anything when she sat down. He was able to convince her that he had a big breakfast. Ida's still giving him a lecture about proper nutrients, but Izuku just laughed it off. He was silently offered some of Todoroki's soba, which he declined with a smile and a shake of his head. The second half of the day dragged on slower than the first. So slow, in fact, that Izuku wasn't sure he'd make it. There was more than one time he was debating just walking out of the classroom. Everything was just becoming too much. He was hyper aware of the way Mr. Aizawa was tapping his pen while reading through papers, and Kaminari wouldn't stop flipping through his papers. He could feel every contact between him and his clothes. He couldn't stop a violent shiver that made his head jerk up in one side, and his scalp was itching so much he probably looked crazy. He was getting so overwhelmed that he was completely immersed in all the bad sensations that suddenly building and getting worse and worse and Oi, nerd, stop fucking fidgeting. Bakugo snapped at him, effectively dragging Izuku out of his own head. The green-haired boy looked up with wide eyes when he didn't say anything and just kept staring. Bakugo raised an eyebrow in question. What the hell's wrong with you? With all the strength Izuku had left, he forced a smile on his face and shook his head. Oh, nothing. I just got a little lost in thought is all. Sorry, Kachan. Bakugo looked him over, not seeming to believe the lie. Whatever, Deku, he said, turning back to the front of the room and his own work. Once the blonde's gaze was no longer on him, Izuku let out a long breath and slumped in his seat. He nearly lost it, Bakugo's well-timed annoyance being the one thing stopping him from a complete breakdown. Izuku found it humorous that Bakugo, of all people, was the one to stop it. even if it was unknowingly. He looked over to the clock, noticing that there was only about 15 minutes of class left. There was no stopping the relieved sigh at the sight. The long, stressful, emotionally draining school day was almost over. He just had a few more minutes before he could retreat back to safety and comfort of his own dorm, his own bed. Could sleep the whole afternoon and night. Until he had to wake up and do it all over again. The short-lived feeling of relief was quickly replaced with dread and even more anxiety. He was going to escape his own personal hell just to have to go through it yet again. And the day after, and the day after that. It was never going to stop. It was never going to get better. If he had a nickel for every time someone told him just to relax and wait, everything will work itself out, he'd be richer than Todoroki. But he was tired of waiting. He wanted the constant pit in his stomach and nagging thoughts to go away. He wanted peace and quiet. Was that too much to ask for? He already risked his life multiple times trying to save the day. He was a child and nearly died more times than he can count on one hand. It was getting harder and harder to be grateful that he hadn't. Damn. Jesus. I feel like I've gone back in a time machine with these moods of this story. Jesus. I can relate to a deep level. He needs some help. You needed some help, man. But he gonna get some help. Or I hope so. If Bakugo had to stay in it, of course. So, if you want to see more of this, you know what to do.